lab for Unit 9's volume of a mole of gas lab. You're going to need some equipment right away. You're going to need a UDometer, which is going to collect your gas. You're going to need a ring stand, a clamp, a beaker, about half to 2/3 full of water, set up just like that. You're going to need a thermometer to take the temperature of the room. You're going to need a small graduated cylinder for measuring your hydrochloric acid. You're going to need a 1-hole stopper and some copper wire. Or if you happen to end up in a lab where a previous lab had done this and already has it set up, you'll need the stopper that has the copper basket actually on it already. Since copper doesn't react with hydrochloric acid, the copper can be reused over and over and over again. So to get started, the first thing we need to do is prepare our stopper with our copper basket and our magnesium on the inside. So you're going to need to measure out approximately 2 to 2.5 centimeters of magnesium. Okay? If you're a little over that, it's not too big of a deal, but we want to be approximately 0.04 grams of magnesium. If we get too much, we'll end up generating too much gas and we won't be able to actually measure it with this. Okay? I've already cut a piece off, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of fold it and roll it up and just kind of make it smaller. Now I don't want to fold it onto itself. I want to make sure that I maintain as much surface area because that's where the reaction is actually happening. I'm going to make a new one just so you can see the process. I'm going to cut off a piece of copper wire, not a lot, I would say probably 10 to 15 centimeters. And what I want to do is I kind of want to fashion a small basket. It works best to start by coiling it and then kind of wrap it onto itself. And I'm going to kind of stretch it out and make it so that it will hold my magnesium. So I take up my small piece of rolled, I know you guys can't really see that, and I'm just going to put that into my little copper basket. And it looks like I need to make another wrap of the copper. It doesn't need to be pretty, it just needs to be functional. The copper wire then gets inserted through the 1-hole stopper and just bend the wire over. So basically, this is what you have. So you have a stopper, copper wire, little basket on the end with the magnesium on the inside. This is shown in figure 1 on your lab. You can set that aside for right now, and we need to fill our graduated cylinder. We need to put some hydrochloric acid in initially. If your UDometer. If your UDometer is wet, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal. So I'm going to measure out my hydrochloric acid. I need approximately 10 milliliters. I'm going to measure it out into, even though I could technically measure it directly into the UDometer, I'm just going to real quickly measure it into a graduated cylinder. If you notice it says about 10 milliliters, it doesn't need to be specific, it doesn't need to be perfect, we just need to get it in there. We're using the hydrochloric acid in excess anyway, so it's not that big of a deal if you're slightly under 10 or slightly over. Carefully pour your hydrochloric acid in. Remember, you're working with a fairly high concentration here, so we want to make sure that we don't spill all over. Then I want to fill up the rest of this with water. So I have a beaker of just plain old tap water, and I'm going to fill this until it gets all the way to the top. Now this is a separate beaker of water than what I'm going to be submerging my end of my UDometer in. If you notice, I'm sure it's difficult for you to see, but it's literally filled as full as I possibly can get it. I'm going to carefully stick my basket with my magnesium in there, put my stopper on. I'm going to put my finger over the end, and I'm going to invert it. And when I do that, I'm going to submerge the end in my beaker of water. This is what is pictured in figure 2. I'm going to carefully tighten my clamp. And now you get to wait for about 5 to 10 minutes. This would be a good time to update your lab notebook and get ready for the next step. Okay, so the reaction is finished. During the time of the reaction, you can also make sure that you kind of hold your thermometer out and take the temperature of the room. In addition, you can prepare a graduated cylinder with some water in it. It doesn't need to be anything spectacular. It doesn't matter which level it's at. Just enough so that when you submerge this in there, that there's enough height here that you'll be able to line this up. Okay? Keep in mind too, you're going to be displacing a little bit of water, so I'm actually going to dump just a hair out of this. If you're worried that you have too much water in here, that you can put it into the sink and do it, or you could just put your graduated cylinder into a beaker to catch any water in case it happens to overflow. Alright, so now we're going to adjust for air pressure. So I'm going to release the clamp very carefully, and you probably will notice some bubbles still kind of coming up, and that's fine. I'm going to put my finger over the hole. If you keep it completely inverted, the water isn't just going to run out, and I'm going to slowly put it into my graduated cylinder. And I'm going to move it up and down, and as you notice, as you move it up and down, it's going to change the level in your graduated cylinder. So you want to get it so you can take a reading. If you get it lined up, you can actually use the level of the water to actually measure what the level of the gas is.